Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review, and today from Playmates, we are featuring the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles versus Street Fighter, as Street Fighter celebrates its 35th anniversary. This is a great box set, and so if you're familiar with what Playmates has been doing the past few years, they've been doing these collabs with other properties. For example, over the last 2 years, we've seen the Stranger Things meets the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We've seen Karate Kid / Cobra Kai versus TMNT. And this 2-pack kind of follows suit. And with this, we're getting Ryu from Street Fighter and Leonardo. The one thing I've noticed about these sets in particular is that the TMNT character that we're getting here, it looks much more comic book inspired than video game inspired. Even though you kind of see the pixelated artwork in the portraits on our left, the figure representation, it looks, it looks like it was taken more out of the comic book, especially with the heavy ink lines and the cross hatching. It takes on the appearance of like a comic book character, not necessarily a video game one, which is kind of surprising because the Turtles have seen multiple video games, throughout their history. And in terms of a fighting game like Street Fighter, if you remember in the 90s, Konami made a pair of fighting games, one for the SNES and one for the Sega Genesis. That was TMNT Tournament Fighters, and I was kind of surprised that they didn't take the character design from that video game as opposed to giving us this comic book one. But either way, it's a great figure. This body style has been in use for over 10 years, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I think for most people, the key buying point for this box set is that you're getting Street Fighter Ryu over here. The box alone kind of screams Street Fighter. The package design kind of emulates the arcade cabinet from the 90s, if you remember what an arcade cabinet is. The center here kind of recreates the video game screen, and on each side you get the character portraits, much like the original arcade machine. It even has the deposit 25 cents here. On the back, a nice large bio talking about Street Fighter and TMNT, and then you have the pixelated turtle artwork on the left, and then you have the original Capcom character portraits of Ryu and Chun-Li on the right. Previously, I reviewed the Chun-Li figure, which is outstanding, and I expect nothing less from Ryu. I think this is going to be a great figure. Alright, so let's get started. And just to warn you in advance, I'm only going to review one of the figures in here. The Leonardo figure that's packaged with this set, we've seen that style of body multiple times over, so I kind of feel like, if you've collected Turtles long enough, you'll be familiar with that figure. And like I said, I think the key buying point for most people is getting the Street Fighter character, so we're going to focus more on Ryu than Leo. And not only that, but in my Chun-Li review, it took forever to get Mikey out of the tray just because he had like a million ties holding him down. And I kind of want to avoid that. Alright, so here we are. One thing I noticed with my package is that they boxed it and then they put the backdrop upside down. It's cool that you're getting this. I think it's great for displaying on your shelf or fig photography. But this is how it's supposed to be arranged. Like I said, my backdrop was packaged upside down, but it's cool. They give you the exact arcade graphic right here. I believe this is the arcade. I don't think this is the 16-bit version. And then here are the figures. They look fantastic. Like I said, we're going to take a look at only Ryu. If anything, I'll pull out the Mikey figure here and we'll take a look at the articulation because essentially this uses the same body as this figure here. But I don't want to be bothered trying to take this guy out. It took forever to get this guy out of his package, so. And let's get started. These Playmate figures, they're a nightmare to remove as opposed to other figures. For one, the plastic ties they're using are a lot thicker than you find on other action figure brands, and they're harder to pull out, and I don't know, it's a nightmare. I can't stand this. I hate this. I say this all the time in my videos. I hate this so much. I can't stand removing all these ties. Because realistically, you only need one tie to hold the figure down to the tray. You don't need to, like, strap down every limb. It's annoying. I don't know if it's an anti-theft thing, but God, the box alone is hard to get through, so. All right, before we talk about Ryu, let's talk about Leo real quick, since we're not going to pull this guy out of the tray. All right, so like I mentioned before, this style of figure is something we've seen multiple times throughout the years. For example, here is the same body that was used for the Classic Collection. This came out back in 2012. So, you know, this style of body, it's old, it's a little bit dated, but the articulation scheme, I think, still kind of holds up. And we can look at the Michelangelo that came with Chun-Li. So this figure, you know, they share the same body. I think the only thing different is the head. And, of course, the accessories. You know, he comes with the swords, he comes with the nunchucks. The articulation, if you've handled this figure before, it's nothing new. You know, the head rotates. It's on a ball joint. Articulated arms. You know, it's very standard for this style of figure. The cool thing is the fingers. It's cool, but at the same time, it could be kind of annoying. It's awesome that they're articulated, but at the same time, if you want to put a weapon in there, it becomes kind of a pain in the butt to, like, you know, to be able to get a nice firm grasp on the weapon. Cut at beneath the breast line so it could swivel around. The legs are articulated. Now, I think one thing that's a downside to reusing this mold over and over again throughout the last, you know, 10 years is that I think it suffers from mold degradation. So eventually the limbs, they're not going to be as tight as the original figure, like on here. This guy, his limbs are pretty loose. But it's a great figure nonetheless. And I love that you can store the weapons on his belt, much like the original Playmates action figures. So essentially, that's what you're getting here with Leonardo. You know, it's the exact same style of body. The only thing different is the presentation of the paint application, and of course, the head sculpt is a little bit different. Alright, but this is what we're here for. Chances are you bought the box set because you want the Street Fighter figure. And we have Ryu, as you've seen in Street Fighter 2. You know, throughout the last 35 years, we've gotten dozens of Street Fighter figures from various companies across the board. Everyone from Hasbro, who gave us G.I. Joe style Street Fighter figures in the 90s, to SH Figure Arts, to Storm Collectibles, and various, you know, companies in Asia. And there's been a couple of companies in the US also, like NECA. You know, everyone's given us some form of Street Fighter figure. And this is Playmates' take on the Street Fighters. The cool thing about this that I think is awesome is that they're made by Playmates. So for me, these feel more like toys than actual, like, premium collectibles. And I think the advantage to that is you can actually, like, handle these and play with these and not feel like you're going to break something. You know, this is kind of made of that plastic that's tried and true that Playmates has always used. And it's a beautiful figure. You know, if anything, one thing that bothers me with this, much like the Chun-Li figure, is that his facial expression is just very vague. It's very blank. You know, there's no emotion. You know, I would like if they added some personality in his face, but it's just very bland. But for the most part, you know, as I'm handling this figure, I'm feeling like it's it's a really solid, well-made toy. You know, heavy emphasis on toy. He stands in at about 6.5 inches, a little bit taller than Chun-Li. The sculpting is decent. You know, it's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's about on par with maybe like a Marvel's Legends, in my opinion. His uniform is nice. You get the markings on the belt. He has his long trademark red headband, his red gloves. It's a solid figure. If you're a big Street Fighter fan, I think this set is a must-buy. I mean, that's the reason why I bought it. I'm a huge Street Fighter fan. I grew up playing Street Fighter in the 90s. I loved going to the arcades. You know, back then, I'd buy every version of the game, whether it was the Genesis, the PC Engine, the Famicom, the SNES. And, you know, even to this day, I'm still playing Street Fighter. I'm excited about the upcoming game on the PlayStation 5. So it's a great figure. The articulation, it's pretty solid. Head rotates. Looks down. Wow, that's impressive. Looks really far down. Looks up. Arms rotate. They go out. Now, this is not going to be on the same level as like the SH Figure Arts Street Fighter figure we got a few years ago, or the Storm Collectibles one. But it's a nice, affordable alternative. If you never bought any of the much more expensive figures, this figure is, you know, right up your alley. There's a waist swivel. It's kind of hindered by his uniform. I'm hoping that they give us Ken at least. You know, just repaint this red and give us a different head and give us the Ken figure. At least that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping they give us Ken and Guile at the very least. You know, just to complete the set. But the articulation is solid, as you can see here. It's all the bells and whistles that you expect from this style of figure. And you know, you get this set, and then you get the Chun-Li set, and you can put them together, and you know, they just look amazing next to each other. You know, it's so nice to be able to get like affordable Street Fighter figures at like normal retailer. You know, you don't have to go like online through a specialty shop. You know, you can just jump on down to your Target and pick these up, and they're great. If anything, it just makes me sad that we're not going to get the entire cast of World Warriors. You know, in the original Street Fighter game, originally there were 8 playable characters, and then when Champion came out, there were 12 playable characters. And then there was Super, which introduced us to more characters, plus Akuma. And then with Alpha, you know, we got some throwback characters, some new characters, and more characters with 3, 4, and 5. So, in my perfect world, I'd love if Playmates just tackled every Street Fighter character in general, but at the very least, they're giving us a handful, but it's the core characters. And I'm kind of rambling. But I'm very stoked on this set. I think it's awesome. And I think if you're a Street Fighter fan, you owe it to yourself to get this. You know, if you don't have any of the Storm collectible figures or the Figure Arts ones, this is the best next thing. It's affordable. They're posable, they're toys, they're meant to be played with, and it's awesome. Alright, let's wrap this up. Once again, my name is Lou. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're a returning viewer subscriber, thank you so much for continued support. I greatly appreciate it. So, until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I'll see you at the next one. Alright, later.